Giving up the glory of being a renowned doctor in Vietnam, this man plunges into a life of struggle in a foreign land as an illegal laborer. It is a journey lived in the shadows, where a person must sacrifice both their rights and personal safety to scrape together every penny to save a family member's life. But even amidst such harsh adversity, the kindness in his heart has never grown cold. He has become a silent doctor, quietly using the very hands that once stood on platforms of glory to save the desperate souls who, just like him, are running from reality. On the final day of 2017, at a hospital, Wen Ning was busy with his duties as a janitor. While cleaning, he takes the opportunity to salvage medicine and medical equipment that had been tossed into the trash. Though he may be holding a broom, the reality is that he holds a prestigious medical degree from Vietnam. That night, a bizarre incident occurred when Wen Ning walked into the morgue and caught Dr. Wan Ping intensely performing surgery on a young boy inside a freezer. Wen Ning realizes she is trying to reconstruct the child's skull, so he steps in calmly to assist her by holding the body still. When the job is done, Wen Ning grumbles a bit because his socks were ruined while acting as her reluctant assistant. To compensate him, Wan Ping pulls money from her own pocket to pay him. However, the tables turn instantly when she sees the medicine and needles Wen Ning just scavenged from the hospital. Labeling him a thief with no integrity, she demands her money back. Not to be outdone, Wen Ning immediately pulls out his phone, snaps a photo of the scene, and threatens to report her strange surgical behavior. Ultimately, Wan Ping is forced to pay him hush money and leaves in total frustration. Holding 20 Taiwanese dollars in his hand, a sum equivalent to an entire week's salary for a Vietnamese laborer, Wen Ning doesn't feel comfortable at all. The reason he traveled all the way to Taiwan was to earn money for his mother's treatment, as she is also hospitalized here. As an illegal worker, survival in a foreign land is a grueling challenge. Back home, he was a surgeon held in high esteem. But now, due to a lack of legal documents, he can only practice medicine underground just to make ends meet. In another development, Wan Ping hands over the care of her father to a maid named Maria so she can head to the station to pick up her son. On her way, she receives a video clip from the family of the boy she just operated on. In the clip, the little boy sends her a heartfelt thank you before passing away. Though her heart is heavy with grief, Wan Ping tries to pull herself together to keep going. At that very moment, at the train station, a group of undocumented workers is carrying out a plan to distract the police so they can secretly rush an injured friend to emergency care. Because they cannot go to a regular hospital for fear of deportation, the employer has no choice but to seek out doctors like Wen Ning. At first, the crowd is skeptical about the skills of a man who makes a living as a janitor. This forces those with him to explain that he is, in fact, a legitimate medical school graduate. At the station, Wan Ping has also just arrived to pick up her son, Xiao Hao. Wanting to ease the boy's pain during his physical therapy, her husband had unilaterally hired a massage specialist. This move met with fierce opposition from Wan Ping, sparking a heated argument between the couple. Caught in the middle of their fight, Xiao Hao happens to notice bloodstains on the floor belonging to an injured person. The boy tries to alert his mother, but Wan Ping is so caught up in the argument that she doesn't pay any attention. This leads a curious Xiao Hao to follow the trail of blood on his own. Meanwhile, the employer has successfully brought the injured worker to meet Wen Ning. Seeing that the patient's condition is critical, Wen Ning sets the surgical fee at $30. After some haggling, they settle on a figure of $25, and the boss repeatedly urges him to get to work immediately. At the same time, a panicked Wan Ping is searching for her son and finally finds him in the lobby. But just as they are about to leave, Xiao Hao spots the injured man from earlier. Curious, the boy pretends he needs to use the bathroom so he can sneak inside to investigate. To allow Wen Ning to focus on the task at hand, Tian Cheng plays the role of a gatekeeper, cleverly shooing everyone away from the restroom area. By now, Xiao Hao has managed to slip inside. Being the son of medical professionals, the boy isn't frightened by the sight of blood. Instead, he stays perfectly calm, holding a magnifying glass to assist Wen Ning like a professional surgical aide. Outside, Wan Ping has been waiting for too long and tries to barge in to find her son, but Tian Cheng quickly thinks on his feet, pretending to be a janitor to block her path by any means necessary. The tension spikes when Zhen Hua, an officer from the immigration department, happens to pass by on patrol. Wan Ping immediately turns to him for help. Seeing the danger, Tian Cheng signals Wen Ning to speed things up. In the frantic rush to finish the final stitch, Wen Ning accidentally drops a medical clamp, but luckily, Xiao Hao's quick reflexes save the day as he catches it just in time. The clever boy even helps the doctor and the patient move to a different stall to buy them more time. When Zhen Hua grows suspicious and steps inside to investigate, Tian Cheng risks everything by pulling the fire alarm to trigger total chaos. At the same moment, Xiao Hao fakes a seizure to create a distraction, giving Wen Ning and the injured worker the perfect window to escape. During the frantic retreat, Wen Ning and Wan Ping have a sudden, unexpected moment where they lock eyes. Once the coast is clear, Xiao Hao returns to his normal self and openly admits to his mother that he was just with those two men, even going as far as to praise Wen Ning's incredible life-saving skills. Despite his primary goal being to earn money, Wen Ning shows his true colors by giving the fellow laborer some medicine, a bit of cash for support, and Tian Cheng's business card. By the time the rescue team and Zhen Hua return to help the seizing patient, Wan Ping and her son have already disappeared. That evening, Wen Ning receives some great news from Tian Cheng. His visa has been extended for another 6 months. When Wen Ning asks why Tian Cheng is so dedicated to helping undocumented residents, he confesses that it's all about survival. He desperately needs money to support his daughter who is studying abroad. Knowing his friend is struggling, Wen Ning offers to help financially, but Tian Cheng refuses. He knows Wen Ning is already carrying the massive burden of his mother's medical expenses. It turns out, Wen Ning's mother was actually injured while helping Tian Cheng's grandmother, a debt of gratitude that weighs heavily on him. However, Wen Ning doesn't hold a grudge. Instead, he sincerely comforts his friend, telling him that every struggle eventually finds a way out. After finishing his meal, Wen Ning rushes to the hospital to visit his mother. He receives an optimistic update from her doctor, who says her health is progressing very well. Back in his tiny, cramped rented room, he pours his feelings into a diary, writing about how much he misses his homeland, his colleagues, and the professional medical world back in Vietnam. The only comfort keeping him going is the burning desire for his mother to wake up soon, so they can finally return home and live in the new house he has worked so hard to buy. The next day, still worried about Xiao Hao's sudden seizure at the station, Wan Ping takes him for a full screening. While there, her colleague Jing Yu asks for help with a difficult Casey, a little Vietnamese girl who needs an urgent examination. Because of the language barrier, Jing Yu is completely helpless in communicating with the girl's panicked mother. Wan Ping steps in to bridge the gap. After a preliminary checkup, she discovers the little girl is suffering from CMS, congenital myasthenic syndrome, and decides to take over her treatment immediately. Though he scoffs at the price, calling it a bit cheap for the effort required, he eventually nods in agreement. In the waiting area, Wen Ning quickly works his magic to calm the mother's nerves and strikes up a conversation with the little girl, Tu Yet Bin, to ease her fears. However, the moment he lays eyes on her fresh x-rays, his expression darkens. He immediately recognizes the severity of her condition, multiple damaged vertebrae, and declares that she needs emergency surgery right away. Just then, Dr. Lam receives a direct order from the hospital administration to transfer Tu Yet Bin to another facility. The reason? The mother and daughter have no legal papers, no insurance, and absolutely no way to pay the bills. Unable to stand by and watch a patient be abandoned, Wan Ping offers to use her own professional reputation to guarantee the medical debt. But in a cruel twist of fate, every single operating room in the hospital is fully booked. Seeing the deadlock, Wen Ning stuns everyone by offering to pay out of his own pocket to rent an external operating room and perform the surgery himself. To prove he's the real deal, he produces his prestigious medical degree and formal practicing certificate from Vietnam. This is the moment Wan Ping finally realizes that her colleague has been hiding in plain sight under a janitor's uniform all this time. With the girl's life on the line, she decides to take the gamble. Wan Ping will act as the lead surgeon, while Wen Ning takes on the role of the anesthesiologist. Once the rented OR is ready, young Xiao Hao unexpectedly insists on joining the life-saving team. Due to a shortage of staff to monitor the life support machines, Wan Ping reluctantly agrees to let her son assist. The surgery unfolds in a high-pressure atmosphere, with the trio of Wen Ning, Wan Ping, and Jing Yu working in perfect harmony. Meanwhile, their junior assistant Xiao Hao proves himself to be incredibly professional, keeping his eyes glued to the monitors and reporting pulse and blood pressure stats to the doctors like a seasoned veteran of the team. As the surgery concludes, Wan Ping carefully instructs Wen Ning to choose his words wisely when comforting Tu Yet Bin's mother, suggesting he tell her that they need more post-op time to determine the girl's health. Contrary to her delicate approach, Wen Ning chooses to face the brutal reality. He informs the mother bluntly that the injury was in a very dangerous location, and therefore, the risk of permanent paralysis is extremely high. Wan Ping immediately snaps at him, calling him cold-hearted for extinguishing the mother's last spark of hope. But Wen Ning bitterly fires back, saying that poor people simply don't have the right to hope. A fierce debate over medical ethics erupts between the two right there in the hallway. Their argument is cut short when a panicked Jing Yu rushes in to report a massive gas explosion that has triggered a catastrophic fire. Watching the victims arrive with horrific burns covering their bodies, Wen Ning feels a sharp pang of pain as he remembers the similar injuries his own mother suffered. At that same moment, his mother finally wakes up from her coma and calls out his name. His memories drift back to the year 2001 at Chan Hung Hospital in Vietnam. He remembers waking up from a nightmare about being abandoned by his mother, only to find her tenderly by his side, bringing his favorite treats and gifting him a lucky charm bracelet. However, shortly after that sweet memory, she left for Taiwan to work and vanished without a trace, until now. Returning to the present, Wan Ping only has enough time to tell Xiao Hao to wait for her before she dives into the sea of injured people flooding the hospital. She quickly begins processing and treating patients based on their CT results. Since the neurosurgeons are all tied up in the ICU, the department head decides to have a patient injected with medication directly instead of waiting. Wan Ping doesn't forget to warn Ms. Chu about the intracranial risks associated with this specific drug. After a moment of hesitation, the female prosecutor signs the waiver. Once the infusion is complete, Wan Ping is swept away again by the influx of new fire victims. But then, a crisis occurs. The stroke patient's condition suddenly takes a turn for the worse. By the time Wan Ping returns to assist, it is already too late. The reaction from the previous injection was so powerful that the emergency resuscitation didn't yield the results they hoped for. Faced with the critical condition of her loved one, Ms. Chu, who happens to be a prosecutor, loses her composure. She begins demanding accountability and insists on meeting the person who performed the first aid on her father face-to-face. To shield Wen Ning from a legal nightmare, Wan Ping steps up and takes the fall, claiming she was the one in charge. However, with her sharp professional eyes, Ms. Chu asserts that she definitely saw a male doctor performing the procedure and adamantly demands that he step forward. This news sends the entire medical team into a state of pure panic. The department head repeatedly warns Wan Ping about the disastrous consequences of letting an unauthorized person participate in treatment. This could plunge the entire hospital into a massive, complex legal battle. The situation turns tragic when Miss Chu's father passes away, turning the hospital atmosphere into a pressure cooker of tension. As soon as the somber news breaks, the department head orders Wan Ping to immediately escort Wen Ning off the premises. He demands that Wen Ning's shadow must not be seen in the building for another second. When she finds him, Wan Ping quickly explains the gravity of the situation and advises him to go into hiding for a while. Wen Ning feels deeply wronged. He knows the patient's passing was caused by the rushed medication, not his resuscitation technique. However, Wan Ping points out the cold, hard truth. The issue isn't about his medical skill, it's about his status as an illegal laborer. If the family of the deceased uncovers this, the hospital will face a legal crisis, and he will almost certainly end up in prison. She promises to take full responsibility herself on one condition. Wen Ning must vanish immediately. Crushed by the weight of reality, Wen Ning has no choice but to accept this arrangement. That night, after Wan Ping drops him off at a temporary shelter, Wen Ning hands over more than 100 Taiwanese dollars, asking her to deliver it to a patient in the burn unit. He also discreetly leaves his contact information in her phone. Just as he settles into a new place with Tian Cheng, he receives another emergency case that needs intervention. While Wen Ning is busy performing surgery just to survive, elsewhere, Wan Ping receives the terrifying news that both her father and her son have gone missing. She spends the entire night searching frantically, completely unaware that her two loved ones have wandered into a community of Vietnamese migrant workers. It turns out that after being taken for a health checkup, memories of his younger days as a doctor were triggered in Wan Ping's father. He insisted on returning to his old hospital, which had actually been torn down years ago. As a result, the grandfather and grandson were stranded on the street with no money for a taxi. Luckily, a kind-hearted Vietnamese worker passed by, paid their fare, and took them both back to her workplace. At the restaurant, upon learning it was Xiao Hao's birthday, the group of workers gathered to sing and celebrate the boy's new age, creating a warm, festive atmosphere among strangers. When Wan Ping finally reaches them by phone, Xiao Hao quickly reports their location to his mother. At that exact moment, a medical emergency strikes the restaurant as a worker suddenly collapses. Terrified of being arrested, the woman doesn't dare take him to the hospital. Instead, she calls Dr. Chu, who is actually Wen Ning. He arrives in a flash and diagnoses the patient with acute appendicitis, requiring immediate surgery on the spot. Inside a cramped room with primitive tools, the surgery is performed in the nick of time. But in a cruel twist of irony, Zhen Hua suddenly leads a police raid to sweep the entire area. While many people manage to scatter into the narrow alleys, a few were caught and detained. To protect the patient he had just operated on, Wen Ning quickly tossed his medical kit out the window, covered the patient with a blanket, and staged the scene to look like a drunken mess of vomit before making his retreat. However, Zhen Hua smelled something fishy when he stumbled upon the discarded surgical tools and immediately gave chase. Just as Wan Ping arrived to pick up her family, she witnessed the entire high-stakes pursuit. To save her colleague, she silently signaled him to sneak into her car and then intentionally bumped into a police cruiser to create a diversion. Taking advantage of the chaotic moment, Wan Ping floored it, whisking Wen Ning away from the dragnet just in the nick of time. As dawn broke, the authorities began the process of rounding up undocumented residents. On the road, Wan Ping's car was stopped at a checkpoint for preliminary questioning. The police cast a suspicious eye on the strange man sitting in her car, but Wan Ping quickly introduced him as her friend, allowing them to pass through the inspection smoothly. However, as soon as the car started moving again, Wen Ning unleashed his deep frustration. He found the blatant discrimination that locals showed toward foreign workers impossible to understand, and bluntly told Wan Ping that even her way of communicating felt superior and condescending. In response, Wan Ping simply defended herself, explaining that it was just her natural tone since childhood and that she had absolutely no intention of looking down on anyone. In another development, after the workers were hauled away, Zhen Hua acted strangely, pretending to handcuff the restaurant owner. In reality, it was a clumsy piece of theater because the two were actually accomplices in a snitch scheme to arrest people illegally. After pocketing his kickback from the owner, Zhen Hua received word that Ms. Chu's father had passed away. At the funeral home, Ms. Chu was drowned in grief beside her father's portrait. Despite the comfort of her colleagues, the female prosecutor couldn't shake her suspicions about the hidden circumstances surrounding his death. The fact that the hospital was being so evasive and refusing to let the emergency doctor face her only fueled her determination to hire a lawyer and sue to uncover the truth. Back in the car, when asked where he wanted to go next, Wen Ning stubbornly insisted on returning to the hospital. Wan Ping flatly refused his request because she still hadn't found a way to handle the legal heat from Ms. Chu. Even though she knew he had done nothing wrong, in this no-win situation with nowhere to hide, Wen Ning had to accept her arrangement to take temporary shelter at her private residence. While there, Wen Ning witnessed a Southeast Asian maid begging Wan Ping for a loan to handle personal matters back in her home country. However, still fuming from the earlier incident where she lost her father and son, Wan Ping coldly rejected the request. Afterward, under Xiao Hao's guidance, Wen Ning was shown to his room. Meanwhile, one by one, the labor brokerage leads were falling into the police net. A man named Min Dong managed to sneak a distress text just before being taken into the interrogation room. His stubborn refusal to say a single word made Zhen Hua incredibly frustrated. Luckily for Min Dong, a mysterious figure appeared and bailed him out. Though deeply suspicious, Zhen Hua was helpless to stop him due to a lack of solid evidence. The psychological warfare intensified as Zhen Hua began scanning the contact list on Tian Cheng's phone. He discovered a high frequency of calls made to Wen Ning. At that very moment, the phone in his hand began to ring. It was an incoming call from Wen Ning. Zhen Hua picks up the phone immediately, but with the razor-sharp instincts of someone living on the run, Wen Ning instantly recognizes the strange voice on the other end and hangs up without a second's hesitation. Later that night, Tian Cheng is finally released. He checks his phone and realizes it's been tampered with, but he keeps his mouth shut and quickly exits the police station. In the dead of night, Wen Ning overhears the maid on a phone call, her voice trembling with urgency. It sounds like her family is being threatened, and she needs money fast. As soon as the call ends, she disappears into the night without a word to anyone. Feeling a deep sense of empathy for a fellow migrant in trouble, Wen Ning decides not to tell Wan Ping what he heard. The next morning, Wan Ping is furious when she discovers the maid is gone and has stolen a sum of money. She lashes out at Wen Ning, demanding to know why he didn't try to stop her or talk some sense into her. Without the maid, she's completely overwhelmed, unable to balance her demanding job and taking care of her family. Wen Ning fires back, calling Wan Ping selfish. He points out that the maid was incredibly devoted to her father and son, yet Wan Ping treated her poorly. Wan Ping tries to justify herself again, arguing that she's a great boss who pays a high salary and even offers occasional loans. Once she cools down a bit, Wen Ning gently reminds her that the maid likely had her own hidden pain just like him. He talks about how hard it is for anyone living in a foreign land, especially when you have a mother in the hospital that you can't even visit. Hearing this, Wan Ping falls silent. That night, Wen Ning writes in his diary about how he and his countrymen just want to work hard in a new country, yet they are treated as different solely because of their nationality. The maid's departure brings back painful memories of his own mother. Over a decade ago, she came to Taiwan and likely lived just like that, maid pushed into the dark corners of society, living a lowly life without a voice. In the days that follow, Wan Ping is forced to juggle everything alone. Luckily, a close friend soon introduces her to a new maid, and finally, the heavy burden on her shoulders begins to lift. Meanwhile, Min Dong meets with his boss and hands over some cash, asking for help to find someone. When he eventually tracks the man down, Min Dong is horrified to see him covered in injuries. The next day, at the Tongyan prosecutor's office, Chu is still haunted by the memory of the male doctor who tried to save her father. Just then, Zhen Hua drops by. He's been investigating a smuggling ring at the port and reports his progress to Ms. Chu, mentioning that he encountered a foreign doctor during his investigation. He suspects the man of practicing medicine illegally and being involved in human trafficking. Ms. Chu immediately suspects this is the very man she's been looking for and reveals that she encountered him at Daihui Hospital. She urges Zhen Hua to focus his investigation on that hospital. At the same time, Wan Ping is busy handing over the keys and assigning chores to her new maid. As she's leaving, she spots Wen Ning putting on his shoes. Catching a glimpse of his blood-stained socks, she is suddenly reminded of the time he helped her perform surgery on the little boy in the morgue, and she feels a wave of gratitude toward him. Deciding to help, she drives him to the hospital to see his mother. But to keep him safe, she insists he stay in the car while she goes up to the ward so they can video call each other. Inside, Wan Ping's colleague breaks the news about his mother's condition. She has severe, widespread burns, but because they couldn't reach Wen Ning, her critical treatments were delayed. Wan Ping decides to see her act of kindness through to the end. She pays the hospital bills out of her own pocket and approves the treatment plan. Then, she makes good on her promise and sets up the video call for Wen Ning. On the screen, his mother speaks with a heavy, sorrowful voice, worried that her son is suffering and struggling in Taiwan. Wen Ning fights back tears, constantly reassuring her and lying that he is doing great, promising that he'll come to visit her in person in just a few days. At the same time, Wen Ning notices that Tuyet Bin's mother is in deep trouble. Because she has to care for her daughter in the hospital, she has missed work multiple times. Her employer is furious, and she lives in constant terror of being fired, knowing that if she loses her job, there will be no money left to save her child. She breaks down crying in front of Wen Ning, desperately begging him to help find Tuyet Bin's father. Moved by her plight, Wen Ning agrees. He sends a quick text to Wan Ping saying he has an emergency, then rushes to a building at an address he was given. It turns out to be a migrant worker dormitory, cramped, damp, and decaying. A fellow countryman shows him a photo of the husband. When Wen Ning sees the tattoo on the man in the picture, his heart sinks. He realizes this man is Hoang Viet, the very patient he fought so hard to save in surgery just a few days ago, but who didn't survive due to the severity of his wounds. Hoang Viet's friends recount how their former boss treated them like dirt. They were allowed only one meal a day. To earn enough to support his child, Hoang Viet had taken on the most dangerous jobs imaginable. Seeing the squalid living conditions of his countrymen, Wen Ning is overwhelmed with sorrow. He stays for a while to examine several children and gives out free medicine. The people there are so grateful they invite him to dinner. As a dozen people sit together in that simple room, bowing their heads in prayer before eating, Wen Ning feels a sense of sadness and helplessness, more profound than ever before. That night, Wan Ping drives over to pick him up. It's pouring rain, but Wen Ning stands motionless in the downpour, refusing to get in the car. Wan Ping runs to him, asking what on earth he's doing. Wen Ning tells her that his mother also came to Taiwan to earn a living, and now she's lying in a hospital with horrific injuries. He tells her how his countrymen live in filth and tight spaces, yet they still care for one another with genuine heart. He and his people once believed they could start a new life in Taiwan, but the reality before his eyes has turned that old oath into a cruel irony. In a moment of raw pain, Wen Ning admits he regrets ever answering her phone call. He's terrified of losing his mother, and terrified of losing his entire life. Fuming with frustration, Wen Ning turns to walk away, but Wan Ping remains steadfast. She chases after him, making a solemn promise. She will do everything in her power to care for his mother and will personally arrange the surgery for Tu Yet Bin. She looks him in the eye and tells him he is not alone. Those sincere words leave Wen Ning speechless. He finally lets go of his stubbornness and returns to her house. Wan Ping then gives him a gift, a pair of brand new socks. She mentions she noticed this morning that he was still wearing his old blood-stained ones. Recalling Wan Ping's words from the night before, a wave of guilt washes over Wen Ning. For the first time, he looks at her with a completely different perspective. The next morning, Wan Ping wakes up to find Wen Ning making breakfast and teaching Xiao Hao how to knead dough. A short while later, the whole family sits down for a happy meal. Wen Ning and Xiao Hao chat and laugh, a warm domestic atmosphere that the house hasn't felt in a very long time. Watching this scene, Wen Ning feels a gentle flicker of happiness that he thought he had lost forever. After breakfast, Tian Cheng calls Wen Ning with a warning. The police have intensified their crackdowns, and he needs to be extremely careful. Wen Ning takes the opportunity to ask Tian Cheng to help find a caregiver for the elderly. Since the new maid has only been there for 2 days, he hopes he can lighten the load for Wan Ping. Meanwhile, Zhen Hua has finally dug up information on Wen Ning. When Ms. Chu hears the name, it instantly clicks. The doctor who performed emergency aid on her father was also named Wen Ning. Not only that, but Zhen Hua discovers that the phone number Tian Cheng registered for Wen Ning has been frequently contacting the burn center at Daiwi Hospital. The clues are starting to lock into place. Ms. Chu decides to go to the hospital with Zhen Hua to investigate. At that very moment, back at Wan Ping's house, Wen Ning is helping Xiao Hao with his studies. Suddenly, Xiao Hao suffers a violent seizure and collapses onto the floor. Without hesitation, Wen Ning and Wan Ping rush the boy to the hospital. Once they arrive, Wan Ping tells Wen Ning to stay in the parking lot, but his heart is too heavy with worry for the boy. He pulls a hat low over his head and heads inside, waiting outside the ward, desperately hoping for good news. The department head immediately recognizes the man standing outside the door as the Vietnamese doctor who treated Miss Chu's father. Terrified of the fallout, he warns Wan Ping about how grave the situation is and demands she get him out of there instantly. Wan Ping leads Wen Ning to a secluded spot. He asks about Xiao Hao's condition and discovers the boy has a scar on his head from a deep brain stimulation procedure. Not only that, but Wan Ping performed the surgery herself. Wen Ning can't wrap his head around why she would take such a risk with her own child and advises her to start listening to what her son actually needs. Wen Ning tries to leave the hospital, but a nurse stops him to talk about his mother's treatment progress, urging him to visit her more often. With no other choice, he's forced to stay and listen. At that exact moment, Prosecutor Chu and Detective Zhen Hua arrive at the hospital and find Wen Ning's mother in her ward. After questioning the nurse about his whereabouts and learning he's on site, they begin a frantic search. Just as Wen Ning is finally making his exit, he spots the two of them closing in. Realizing the law is hunting him, Wen Ning tries to call Wan Ping, but she's too preoccupied with her son to answer. In a desperate move, he finds Jing Yu and explains the situation. Luckily, his quick-witted friend disguises Wen Ning as a patient and wheels him into the elevator, right under the noses of the police. Once he clears the elevator, Wan Ping has her friend hand over her car keys so Wen Ning can use her vehicle as a getaway car. After thanking Jing Yu, Wen Ning speeds away. While on the road, Tian Cheng calls with news of an injured laborer who needs urgent care. Wen Ning accepts the job and heads to a shopping mall for the meeting, completely unaware that he is being tracked by Ms. Chu and the police. It turns out Ms. Chu had identified him through the hospital's CCTV footage and was hot on his trail. When he arrives at the mall to meet the contact from Tian Cheng's photo, Wen Ning quickly realizes he's being followed. To lose his tail, he bolts for the rooftop. As luck would have it, a high-end party is happening on the roof, and one of the guests is Fong Than Han, old classmate of Wen Ning's. Ms. Chu and Zhen Hua burst onto the scene, but the party is filled with powerful, elite figures. Recognizing that Wen Ning is in trouble, his old friend intentionally steps in to help, using his status and sharp words to block the authorities. Forced into a stalemate, the prosecutor and the detective are eventually made to leave. Wen Ning calls Tian Cheng to report that he can't make the medical appointment. The injured worker is left in a state of total panic, knowing they can't go to a regular hospital. By nightfall, Wen Ning returns to Wan Ping's house. The caregiver is just leaving and hands the gate keys to Wen Ning, telling him there's food on the table and asking him to look after Wan Ping's father. Without a single complaint, Wen Ning starts feeding the old man, helps him into bed, and takes care of the household chores. Late at night, Wan Ping calls to promise she'll be home early in the morning, and thanks Wen Ning for his help. At the same time, Jing Yu sends Wen Ning a video of his mother. Her condition is improving, and she hopes it gives him some peace of mind. Wen Ning breathes a sigh of relief, totally unaware that Zhen Hua is staked out nearby, watching his every move. The next morning, a labor broker discovers that their caregiver, Lena, is sick and calls Wen Ning for help. He tries to call Wan Ping to let her know, but she doesn't pick up. As it happens, she's currently on a heated call with her ex-husband. Xiao Hao has had another seizure, and Wan Ping is interrogating her ex, asking why he never told her these seizures were becoming frequent. Her ex-husband explains that he was terrified she would do something crazy again. It's revealed that to save Xiao Hao previously, Wan Ping had taken it upon herself to perform a highly risky surgery on him, a procedure that was only meant for adults. Even now, facing harsh criticism from her ex-husband, Wan Ping remains stubborn. She is a neurosurgeon. She refused to sit idly by while her son is suffering. At the same time, the department head calls Jing Yu in to warn her. If Wan Ping tries anything unauthorized with Xiao Hao, she must report it immediately. Meanwhile, Ms. Chu arrives at the hospital morgue. She has made the agonizing decision to go through with her father's autopsy to find the true cause of his death. Seeing her father's body undergo the examination is too much for her. She rushes out, breaking down in heart-wrenching tears. Driven by a desperate need to save her son, Wan Ping decides to take one more massive gamble. She plans to re-operate on Xiao Hao and begs Jing Yu to assist her. However, Jing Yu warns her that this surgery is incredibly dangerous. If it fails, Xiao Hao will have no chances left. Jing Yu also notes that the department head has strictly forbidden it. Under pressure from her superior and morally disagreeing with Wan Ping's reckless approach, Jing Yu refuses to help. But Wan Ping doesn't care. She takes her son out of the hospital on her own and starts calling everyone she knows, searching for an anesthesiologist brave enough to help. Because the surgery is so high risk, no one agrees except for one junior alumna from her medical school. With no other options, Wan Ping turns to Wen Ning as her last resort. After hearing her plan, Wen Ning also refuses, telling her that her methods are far too extreme. He warns her that if anything goes wrong during the procedure, Xiao Hao won't survive. After being rejected by Wen Ning, Wan Ping collapses into desperate sobs. As a mother, she is willing to pay any price to cure her child. Even though he gave her a firm no, Wen Ning can't find peace on his way back. He keeps remembering the days he spent with Wan Ping and Xiao Hao. Xiao Hao is such a bright, well-behaved boy. Wen Ning thinks that if there is even a slight chance to let the boy live a normal life, maybe it's worth the risk. With that thought, Wen Ning calls Wan Ping back. Hearing Xiao Hao's voice on the other end calling him uncle, Wen Ning's heart melts, and he changes his mind. After hanging up, Wen Ning goes to check on Lena's condition. She tells him she was bitten by a dog and applied 2 types of medicine, but neither worked. He feels her leg and immediately concludes she is suffering from compartment syndrome. He warns her that she needs to get to a hospital immediately, or her life will be in danger. But Lena refuses, terrified of being deported as an illegal worker. Back at the house, after getting Wen Ning's yes, Wan Ping prepares for the upcoming surgery by shaving her son's head. Xiao Hao is incredibly brave and cooperative, telling his mother he isn't afraid. He sees her worry and knows how hard she is fighting for him. At the same time, Wen Ning tracks down the labor broker, telling him to call an ambulance because Lena is in critical condition. He simply doesn't have the tools to perform such a surgery on her. Tian Cheng hears this and calls for help, but when he enters the house to get Lena, she is nowhere to be found. As they go out to search for her, Zhan Hua, who has been staking out the area, begins tailing Wen Ning. Eventually, Wen Ning finds Lena, but she still refuses to go to the hospital. Just as they are arguing, Lena collapses unconscious. With no other choice, Wen Ning has to perform emergency surgery right then and there to save her leg and life. Tragically, Lena's boyfriend stumbles upon the scene and misinterprets what's happening. Thinking Wen Ning is trying to harm his girlfriend, he rushes in and begins beating Wen Ning brutally. Zhen Hua hears the commotion and rushes in to stop the fight. Seeing Wen Ning holding a surgical knife, Zhen Hua assumes he was trying to stab someone. Ignoring all of Wen Ning's desperate explanations, the detective arrests him on the spot. Xiao Hao's surgery is scheduled for that night, but as she prepares to start, Wan Ping realizes she can't get a hold of Wen Ning. She is forced to take her son to the operating room alone. Standing outside the OR, she keeps calling, but Wen Ning still doesn't answer. Wan Ping is convinced that Wen Ning has gotten cold feet and abandoned them. With the surgery deadline looming, she has no choice but to grit her teeth and prepare to perform the operation with only her one junior assistant by her side. But just as the life-saving surgery was about to begin, before the anesthesia even took effect, Jing Yu burst into the room with security guards. They forcibly dragged Wan Ping out of the operating room. Just like that, her desperate attempt to save her son ended before it even started. Following Wen Ning's arrest, the kind-hearted Tian Cheng immediately hired a lawyer to fight for him. The next day, the department head was absolutely livid. In a harsh crackdown, the night shift doctor and the junior assistant who helped Wan Ping were both hauled before a disciplinary committee. Wan Ping herself was placed on long-term administrative leave. Meanwhile, in a tense courtroom battle, Wen Ning's lawyer presented evidence to prove his medical credentials from Vietnam. Unfortunately, Lena remained in a coma and couldn't testify. Combined with his status as an illegal laborer, the judge remained unconvinced and sentenced Wen Ning to 2 months in prison. Upon hearing the verdict, Ms. Chu felt a cold sense of satisfaction, believing she had finally achieved justice for her father. As Wen Ning was being hauled off to a detention center, his mother was undergoing a critical skin graft surgery elsewhere. Wen Ning was thrown into a dark, suffocating cell, feeling the crushing weight of injustice. The man who dedicated his life to saving others had been branded a criminal. Outside, a worried Tian Cheng messaged a contact named Paulo, asking him to look after Wen Ning on the inside. But prison is a brutal place where the strong prey on the weak. Wen Ning tried to stand up for the vulnerable inmates, only to be met with even more savage treatment from the other prisoners. We then get a glimpse into Detective Zhen Hua's past. As a child, He moved to Taiwan with his mother and befriended a young Indonesian girl. Back then, Zhenhua was the only one who would be her friend, but his kindness became a target for bullies. They mocked his Indonesian language and ridiculed the girl's poverty. Hurt and shamed, Zhenhua eventually stopped playing with her. Seeing his pain, his mother taught him a powerful lesson. Only the weak bully others to feel strong. Inspired, Zhenhua bought some ice cream and went to find the girl, but he was too late. Because of her family's debts, she had been taken away as payment. On the road where she disappeared, Zhenhua found a bracelet she had dropped, a token he still keeps to this day. Back in the present, Ms. Chu and Zhenhua visit the prison to squeeze information out of Wen Ning. They suspect he is part of a human trafficking ring. Wen Ning explains over and over that he was only trying to save lives, but Ms. Chu refuses to listen. She demands he pay the ultimate price for what she calls his negligence in her father's death. The mention of her father stings Wen Ning deeply, but to protect Wan Ping's career, he bites his tongue and stays silent. It's only then that Zhenhua realizes Ms. Chu isn't looking for the truth, she's on a personal vendetta. To find out what really happened, Zhenhua interrogates Lena's boyfriend. The man finally admits that his girlfriend was indeed injured. Reflecting on Wen Ning's actions that night, Zhenhua has a sudden realization. He might have arrested an innocent man. Meanwhile, Wen Ning tries to contact Wan Ping, but she doesn't answer. She is busy packing her things to take Xiao Hao home when she checks her phone and sees the missed calls. She ignores them, convinced that Wen Ning is a hypocrite who made a promise and then ran away when things got tough. But as she leaves, she sees Wen Ning's mother being moved into a general ward. A colleague explains that after her skin graft, the hospital needed to clear the specialized room for victims of a recent gas explosion. Wan Ping knows that the mother's wounds are highly susceptible to infection and shouldn't be in a general ward, but the decision is final. Right then, she spots Tian Cheng caring for the mother. It's only through Tian Cheng that Wan Ping learns the shocking truth. Wen Ning didn't break his promise, was arrested by the police while trying to save someone else. Stricken with guilt, Wan Ping rushes to the prison to visit him. She tearfully apologizes, lost for words as to how everything spiraled into such a tragic mess. Hearing the news that his mother has been moved to a general ward, Wen Ning is consumed by anxiety. He begins to suspect that the hospital is intentionally targeting him as a form of retaliation. The more he thinks about it, the more agitated he becomes. From the medical dispute at the hospital to his current imprisonment, his entire life has spiraled into a chaotic mess. He feels utterly powerless, with no one to turn to for justice. That day, a violent brawl breaks out among the inmates. When one of the prisoners is seriously injured, Wen Ning's medical instincts take over instantly, and he rushes to provide life-saving aid. After the inmate is loaded into an ambulance, Wen Ning stays by his side to monitor his condition. Standing in the hospital hallway once again, he is haunted by visions of his former life in Vietnam, the image of a successful, prestigious surgeon standing in the spotlight of glory. But when the illusion shatters and he looks down, he is faced with the brutal reality of his cold handcuffs. The contrast is devastating. Just then, Jingyu spots him. Using the excuse of treating his minor wounds, she pulls him aside and agrees to help him see his mother one last time. She manages to lure the guards away, giving Wen Ning a few precious moments. He enters his mother's room while she is fast asleep. He reaches out, wanting to touch her and speak to her, but the sight of the chains on his wrists stops him cold. He realizes the shame of his current situation, and the tears begin to fall uncontrollably. Zhenhua witnesses this heartbreaking scene from the doorway, offering only a silent, supportive pat on the shoulder before leading him away. That night, Wen Ning is hauled back to prison. For his unauthorized actions at the hospital, he is punished with 7 days of solitary confinement. In the freezing, silent darkness of the cell, his sense of despair only deepens. Outside the prison walls, Wan Ping's life isn't much better. Her father, suffering from advanced dementia, refuses to cooperate or get dressed, and in a fit of confusion, he even slaps her across the face. Wan Ping can only endure the pain in silence. Between her father's decline and her son's epilepsy, the weight of the world feels like it's about to crush her. The next day, Zhenhua reports his findings to Ms. Chu, insisting that Wen Ning was truly trying to save a life the night of the arrest. But Ms. Chu remains ice cold. She doesn't care whether Wen Ning is a real doctor or not. She just wants a target for her grief. When Zhenhua pushes further, Chu turns the tables and attacks him with a dark secret he has kept buried for years. She reveals a ghost from his past. Years ago, during an operation, Zhenhua shot an Indonesian worker, mistakenly thinking the man was reaching for a gun. It turned out the man was only reaching for his wallet to show his ID. This trauma has haunted Zhenhua ever since, and it stems from a deep fear of his own hidden identity. In reality, Zhenhua is Indonesian, a fact he has concealed for years to survive in Taiwanese society. He keeps a bracelet from a little girl he once helped as a constant reminder of his roots. But today, that bracelet suddenly snaps. He takes it to a beautiful shop owner in the migrant community to get it fixed. She is a longtime friend and informant for him. When she hears that Zhenhua was the one who arrested the Vietnamese doctor, she sighs deeply. She tells him that without that underground doctor, many sick people in their community would already be dead. Looking at the migrant workers struggling to survive in the cracks of society, Zhenhua realized that they are just like him, people who just want to live and be recognized as human beings. Meanwhile, Tian Cheng takes his grandmother to visit Wen Ning's mother. At that exact moment, he receives a mysterious text message. Everything for Wen Ning has been settled. But the message comes with a catch. It's time for Tian Cheng to fulfill his end of the promise. At the same time, Wan Ping is pulling every string she can to find a better hospital room for Wen Ning's mother, as her wounds have become dangerously infected. Just as she's about to leave, she runs into Tian Cheng. He tells her that Wen Ning is currently suffering in solitary confinement and begs Wan Ping to step in for him to treat an undocumented migrant child. Wan Ping hesitates after all. Performing underground medical work is highly illegal, but Tian Cheng offers a simple piece of life philosophy. A doctor's duty to save a life shouldn't depend on whether it's legal or illegal. While she's weighing the risks, Wan Ping catches sight of her son and Tuyet Bin playing together in the hospital. Seeing them through the eyes of a mother, her empathy wins out, and she finally agrees to help. That night, Tian Cheng takes her to the migrants' quarters. The home is cramped, dark, and suffocating. The walls are crumbling, and the air is heavy with the stench of extreme poverty. The patient is a little girl who was too terrified to go to a hospital, so her wounds were only loosely bandaged. Wan Ping uses the tools she brought to stitch the girl up right there on the spot, constantly praising the child's bravery. Once the procedure is over, Tian Cheng pulls the girl's father aside for a private conversation. He tries to convince the man to give his daughter up for adoption to an American couple. This was his real motive for bringing Wan Ping to treat the girl. He wanted her healthy enough for the transition. The father is torn, unable to let go, but Tian Cheng continues his relentless persuasion. He points out that in Taiwan, the girl has no legal status and can't even go to school. But in America, he claims, she would have a life 100 times better than this. What Tian Cheng doesn't realize is that Paulo is actually playing him. He's not arranging an adoption, he's selling the girl. Paulo, seeing that a new victim has taken the bait, is absolutely gloating with satisfaction. After 7 days, Wen Ning is finally released from solitary and moved to a regular cell. By a stroke of luck, one of his cell-Mateza curly-haired Indonesian manis, someone Wen Ning had saved in the past. Because of this, the man treats Wen Ning with great respect and even has his friends sneak in Vietnamese food for him. During his stay, Wen Ning discovers that another worker he once treated is being held in the cell right next door. The curly-haired man tells him that before coming to Taiwan, they all dreamed of a better life. It's strange, he says. We didn't do anything wrong, yet here we are, one by one becoming prisoners. His story resonates deeply with Wen Ning. They are the forgotten, the unfortunate foreigners in a society that refuses to acknowledge them. Desperate to see his mother, Wen Ning asks Tian Cheng to find a lawyer to help him post bail. However, the news from the lawyer is bleak. Bail in this case isn't about the money, it's about having new evidence. Under the current circumstances, unless Ms. Chu herself intervenes, getting bail is nearly impossible. Wen Ning realizes that Ms. Chu might be his only hope, and he begins searching for a way to convince her. Meanwhile, back at the hospital, the department head is playing a cold, calculated game. He's pressuring Wan Ping to take the full fall for the medical error in Ms. Chu's father's treatment. The department head knows he's in line for a promotion to vice president and has no qualms about using Wan Ping as his scapegoat. Even though he was the one who insisted on using the drug with severe side effects, he offers Wan Ping a deal. If she covers up his negligence and testifies that the hospital followed all protocols, he will use his connections to bring in a top American specialist to treat her son. Wan Ping feels utterly trapped and helpless, but for the sake of her son's future, she realizes she can't say no. When she receives the official court summons for medical malpractice, she can only suffer in silence, bearing the weight of a lie she was forced to tell. But when she gets home, her father, despite his fading mind, breaks her heart with a simple piece of advice. If you're exhausted, stop pushing yourself so hard. Those words act like a soothing balm, giving Wan Ping a moment of peace. She decides to keep fighting, even though it feels like the whole world is stacked against her. Tian Cheng has been working tirelessly with the lawyer, but the situation hasn't improved. Finally, Wen Ning thinks of Miss Chu. He decides to meet with her and offers a deal. He will testify as a witness regarding the medical negligence case. Wen Ning promises to reveal everything he knows if she helps him secure bail, and Miss Chu agrees. That afternoon, Wan Ping visits the migrant workers' home for the second time to remove the little girl's stitches. Before she leaves, the girl gives her a drawing. In it, Wan Ping is wearing her white doctor's coat, standing in the middle of a field of sunflowers like a guardian angel. Just as Wan Ping is about to leave, she gets a frantic call from Jing Yu. Her ex-husband has taken their son out of the hospital without her permission. Panic-stricken, Wan Ping tries to contact him, but he only lashes out, criticizing and questioning her until she feels completely trapped and alone. Despite the crushing weight of it all, Wan Ping refuses to give up. She is determined to save her son and protect everything that matters in her life. According to her ex-husband, Wan Ping's pride and her obsession with curing their son led her to ignore the toll it was taking on Xiao Hao's health. She was willing to perform surgery even knowing the risks were astronomically high. That anxiety has been burning inside her for days. That night, she goes to her ex-husband's house and pulls Xiao Hao into a tight hug, as if she had just recovered a lost treasure. With a questioning tone, the ex-husband tells the boy, "Xiao Hao, tell your mother the truth." With innocent eyes and a heart full of sincerity, the boy confesses that he only agreed to the surgery because he didn't want to see his mother cry. He believed that if he wasn't afraid, she wouldn't be afraid either. Hearing this, Wan Ping can no longer hold back her emotions. She sobs uncontrollably, faced with the overwhelming maturity of her young son. Seeing his mother cry, Xiao Hao turns to blame his father. The boy wants his mother to understand that while the surgery is important, it's more important to him that she isn't in pain. The sense of helplessness inside Wan Ping grows as she realizes her son has been carrying her burdens on his tiny shoulders, even though he's far too young to understand it all. When she returns home that night, Wan Ping realizes her life is in total crisis. She finds her father collapsed on the floor and rushes to help him up. In that moment, the old man cries like a child, lamenting that he has ruined his daughter's life. His words cut Wan Ping deeper than anything else. At the same time, Tian Cheng is scrambling to find the money for Wen Ning's bail. Earlier, he had made a deal with Palo to find someone to look after Wen Ning in prison and promised the bail money would be ready. In exchange, Tian Cheng has to help Palo find a young girl for an American couple to adopt. Tian Cheng, trusting Palo's word, convinces the little girl's father to agree to the adoption for her own good. However, he has no idea that Palo is actually a human trafficker. Tian Cheng takes the girl away, but her father is blissfully unaware that his daughter isn't going to America. She is being taken to a secret den where Palo and his accomplices operate. True to his word, Palo hands over the bail money Tian Cheng needs. Thanks to that cash and Miss Chu's intervention, Wen Ning is finally released from prison. On the day of his release, he goes straight to the hospital to see his mother. She has regained consciousness, and her health is finally improving. Wen Ning decides that he will take her back to their homeland, Vietnam, very soon so she can rest and fully recover. The very next day, Wan Ping arrives at court to give her testimony in the medical malpractice lawsuit. She is stunned when Wen Ning suddenly appears in the courtroom as a witness. A wave of intense anxiety washes over her, as she fears that Wen Ning's testimony might be the very thing that destroys her. In a high-stakes courtroom showdown, Wen Ning takes the stand. He testifies that before the medical error occurred, he had worked alongside Wan Ping and witnessed firsthand the impossible decisions and crushing pressure she had to face. However, Wen Ning makes it crystal clear. The tragedy wasn't Wan Ping's fault. He points the finger directly at the hospital's broken protocols and the intense pressure from the higher-ups. Despite his defense, Wan Ping feels like she's sinking in a swamp, unsure of how to navigate the chaos of her life. Even with Wen Ning standing up for her, the combined weight of the hospital's betrayal, the prosecutor's relentless questioning, and her collapsing family life leaves her feeling utterly isolated and hopeless. When Wen Ning describes how he used the defibrillator to try and save Miss Chu's father, the prosecution grills him, demanding to know who authorized him to perform the procedure. Wan Ping's heart races with anxiety, fearing his answer will destroy her career. But Wen Ning remains loyal. He firmly states that his actions were driven solely by a doctor's humanitarian principles. He explains that while Wan Ping was the one who allowed him to help, it was a logical medical choice made in a split-second crisis, devoid of any hidden motives. Thanks to Wen Ning's powerful testimony, Wan Ping is cleared of all legal danger. After the trial, she is deeply moved and thanks him for saving her. Noticing her lingering fear for her son, Xiao Hao, Wen Ning comforts her, urging her to take care of her own health so she can be the pillar her son needs in the tough days ahead. With Miss Chu finally dropping the case, a wave of relief washes over Wan Ping. She decides to quit her job, needing time to reflect on her future and find a way out of her predicament. But life remains an uphill battle. She soon realizes that even with help, the road ahead is far from simple. That night, Tian Cheng takes Wen Ning to meet Palo, the man who funded his bail. Wen Ning feels he owes Palo a debt of gratitude. Upon arrival, he discovers a woman suffering from severe life-threatening complications following a botched nose job. Palo refuses to take her to a regular hospital. Instead, he leads Wen Ning and the woman to a secret underground medical facility, fully equipped with surgical gear and scrubs. Using his elite skills and years of experience, Wen Ning performs a successful surgery in the shadows. At the same time, a grim discovery is made. Police find a suitcase abandoned in the mountains. Inside is the body of a young girl. The investigation reveals she was an undocumented child, a nameless victim who had been discarded and abused within a human trafficking ring. Ms. Chu takes charge of the case and quickly realizes the body was dumped near a shipping port used by traffickers the same area where Min Deng had been spotted. Zhenhua receives orders from Ms. Chu to investigate the lead. He heads to a local restaurant to track down Min Deng's whereabouts. However, the waitress there protects him, lying to Zhenhua and claiming he hadn't shown up that day. Meanwhile, being unemployed makes life harder for Wan Ping, but it brings her and Wen Ning closer together. She begins visiting Wen Ning's mother at the hospital regularly. During one visit, Tian Cheng's grandmother even mistakes Wan Ping for Wen Ning's girlfriend. One day, after a checkup, Wan Ping happens to overhear Tuyet Bin's mother on a frantic phone call, begging for work to pay for her daughter's medical treatment. Moved by a sudden surge of empathy, Wan Ping decides to help. She brings both Tuyet Bin and her mother into her home, hiring the mother as her new maid. By hiring an undocumented worker, Wan Ping takes her first definitive step into the gray zone of reality, crossing the line into the very world of shadows where Wen Ning lives. Wan Ping begins to realize that in a life this difficult, the line between right and wrong is no longer clear. That same day, Tian Cheng approaches her again, asking for help treating another undocumented laborer. Despite knowing it's a crime, Wan Ping has seen so much injustice lately that the boundary between legal and illegal has started to blur. She agrees, and under Tian Cheng's guidance, they head to the site. The two of them work in perfect harmony, performing like a high-level surgical team even in the harshest conditions. In the days that follow, Wen Ning takes things to the next level. He begins drafting blueprints to convert an ordinary van into a secret, fully functional ambulance. He wants to do more for the illegal workers, the people living in the shadows of society whom nobody cares about. Jing Yu, Wan Ping's loyal colleague, joins the cause by sourcing needles and medications from the hospital to supply their secret mobile clinic. Gradually, this van becomes a hidden sanctuary where Wan Ping and Wen Ning treat migrant workers who have zero access to legal healthcare. Through these intense operations, their professional bond deepens into something more romantic. Sensing the spark between them, Jingyu and Tiancheng arrange a night out at a bar to give them a break. At the bar, Wen Ning reunites with a curly-haired Indonesian man who looked out for him in prison. Since his release, the man has been searching for a way to flee back to his home country, even carrying a forged sailor's logbook. Meanwhile, Wan Ping joins a band on stage for a jam session. For the first time in forever, she feels the tension leave her body and truly lets herself go. But the danger is closing in. Zhenhua has finally tracked down Palo's base of operations. Suspecting a human trafficking ring, Miss Chu quickly secures a search warrant. That night, police sirens wail as they raid the den. Sensing the heat, the traffickers desperately scramble to move their evidence, including the children they were preparing to sell. By the time Zhenhua and Miss Chu burst in, the children are almost all gone. All they find are young women being exploited and forced into labor. In the middle of the chaos, Zhenhua finds one of Tiancheng's business cards, confirming his suspicion that the man is deeply involved. Later, Wan Ping goes with Wen Ning to check on the little girl she had treated earlier, only to find she is gone. Tiancheng claims he handed her over to an American family for adoption. When Wan Ping asks for the address of the social center where the girl is staying, Tiancheng just tells her not to worry, insisting everything has been settled. During this time, Wen Ning starts to see that despite Wan Ping's cold and strict exterior, she is actually a deeply warm and kind person. Their moment is interrupted when they meet a Vietnamese worker who tells them someone in his family was seriously injured on the job. Wan Ping and Wen Ning rush to the scene and immediately get to work. However, Zhenhua has already caught up to Tiancheng, suspecting him of working with Wen Ning to provide illegal medical services. Tiancheng, a master of deflection, skillfully dodges the questions, leaving Zhenhua frustrated and empty-handed for the moment. Suddenly, the stakes get even higher. The injured worker's wife unexpectedly goes into labor. In the heat of the moment, Wan Ping tells Wen Ning to handle the husband's wounds while she prepares to deliver the baby. But as the delivery begins, Wan Ping is hit by a tidal wave of agonizing memories. She flashes back to her own traumatic labor years ago. The fear, the failure, and the complications that left Xiao Hao with his lifelong health issues. The trauma paralyzes her. She begins to panic, her hands shaking as she loses her composure. Fortunately, Wen Ning finishes stitching up the husband just in time. Seeing her in distress, he steps in immediately, stabilizing Wan Ping and helping her complete the delivery before things take a tragic turn. Their teamwork pays off, and the delivery goes smoothly. A baby is born into the world, but the joy is short-lived. Just like Xiao Hao years ago, the newborn isn't breathing. There is no heartbeat. A wave of panic hits Wan Ping as she frantically taps the baby's back, her heart racing as she whispers every prayer she knows. After several agonizing, heart-pounding minutes, the silence is finally broken by a sharp, loud cry. As the baby gasps its first breath, Wan Ping breaks down in tears. Those tears aren't just for the newborn. They are the release of years of buried trauma and pain from her own past. The Vietnamese family, overcome with gratitude, gathers around to pray for their new child. In this raw, emotional moment, Wan Ping opens up to Wen Ning. She confesses that these past few days have made her realize she was nothing more than a highly trained technician in a cold, modern medical machine. She admits that's why she blindly followed the department head's orders to give that fatal injection to Miss Chu's father. She had been bound by rules and protocols, treating medicine as a series of tasks to be completed rather than a calling of the heart. Even with her own son, she had strictly followed the textbook path, putting him through grueling, painful rehab and endless surgeries based on a sliver of scientific hope. Now, Wan Ping feels a crushing sense of guilt, believing she's a failure as both a doctor and a mother. But Wen Ning gently stops her. He tells her that it's her stubborn persistence that made Xiao Hao so strong and optimistic. He points out that because of her kindness, Tu Yet Bin's family and countless other invisible workers finally have a glimmer of hope. He tells her firmly, "You are a good mother, and you are a doctor with a true soul." Her tears finally dry up, replaced by a soft, genuine smile. The next morning, they share breakfast with a Vietnamese family. The parents share a heartbreaking reality. Because they are undocumented, they can't register their child's birth. The baby officially doesn't exist, and they are simply living day to day, waiting for an uncertain future. Meanwhile, back at the station, Chu interrogates one of the women caught in the raid. The woman admits to working at the den but begs for mercy, crying that she has a small child who needs her. In the past, Miss Chu would have followed the letter of the law without hesitation to her. The law was an absolute line that no one, regardless of status, could cross. But since her father's death, his final words have been echoing in her mind. The law must have a heart. She begins to realize that true justice requires more than just rigid punishment. It requires the empathy to see the human being behind the crime. At the same time, Zhenhua confronts Mrs. Van, the restaurant owner. He found her on the trafficking den's security cameras multiple times. She insists she was only there to help the migrant workers settle their personal troubles, claiming there was nothing illegal about her presence. On the drive back, Wan Ping makes a vow. She will continue to treat the children of undocumented workers. To her, it's the only way she can truly help. Wen Ning looks at her and smiles. He can feel the warmth and goodness radiating from her. Their moment is interrupted by a text from Wan Ping's ex-husband. Xiao Hao has had another seizure and is being rushed into emergency surgery. Wan Ping flies to the hospital. Seeing her standing there with her ex-husband, united in their fear for their son, a sharp pang of discomfort hits Wen Ning. He suddenly realizes just how many memories he has built with Wan Ping in such a short time. He finally admits it to himself. He has fallen in love with this stubborn, beautiful, and deeply compassionate Taiwanese doctor. That night, Tian Cheng brings Wen Ning a new case. This time, it's a sex worker under Palo's control who wants an abortion. Most of the women in this underground circle are runaways women who fled from abusive boyfriends or exploitative employers, only to find themselves trapped in a different kind of darkness. Reflecting on the heart-to-heart conversation with his fellow countrymen the night before, and thinking about the countless ghost children born without papers, Wen Ning makes a fateful decision. He will take care of the sex worker's baby himself. After completing the procedure, Wen Ning meets a man at the secret underground medical center man named Mr. Tu, the head of a medical equipment company. In their first meeting, Mr. Tu presents himself as an incredibly kind and upright person. Wen Ning learns that Mr. Tu is the mastermind behind the secret facility, which provides a haven for illegal laborers who cannot go to regular hospitals. Because he covers the costs for doctors and medicine, the workers whisper among themselves that he is a living Buddha. Fong Than is Mr. Tu's nephew. Knowing that Wen Ning was a famous surgeon back in Vietnam, he invites him to work at the underground center with the promise of a very generous salary. Meanwhile, back in the light, Xiao Hao's surgery is a success. Besides caring for her son, Wan Ping also takes it upon herself to look after Wen Ning's mother. The mother's treatment plan has finally concluded, and she is nearly ready to return to Vietnam with her son. That night, Wan Ping and Wen Ning exchange text messages. Wen Ning keeps his romantic feelings for her hidden. He knows deep down that he doesn't belong in Taiwan, and that their connection is a case of the right person at the wrong time. He accepts Mr. Tu's offer and officially joins the secret clinic, beginning his work in the underground medical world. However, it doesn't take long before Wen Ning notices some red flags. For instance, patients coming in for something as simple as back pain are being ordered to undergo complex blood tests. At the same time, Zhanhua tracks Wen Ning down again. It turns out that the curly-haired mantha friend Wen Ning made in prison was found dead in front of a hospital, with clear surgical marks indicating organ harvesting on his body. Based on several clues, Zhanhua traces the trail back to Mr. Tu's medical equipment company, suspecting him of being involved in a human trafficking and organ smuggling ring. Furthermore, the investigation reveals that after his release from prison, the curly-haired man had been in contact with Wen Ning. Consequently, Zhanhua and Ms. Chu begin to suspect that Wen Ning is an accomplice in the trafficking operation. When he is summoned for questioning, Wen Ning is devastated to learn that his friend has passed away. After reviewing Zhanhua's investigation files, Wen Ning notices that the curly-haired man frequently visited the very same underground clinic where he is now employed. Connecting this to the organ harvesting marks and the strange blood tests he had observed, Wen Ning begins to suspect Mr. Tu and the clinic's true dark purpose. To uncover the truth, Wen Ning sneaks into the clinic that night to search for records. Sure enough, he finds the curly-haired man's medical file. The records revealed that one of his kidneys was harvested and transplanted into a foreigner. The evidence confirms both the police's investigation and Wen Ning's darkest fears. Tu's benevolent exterior is a mask for a truly evil man. The underground medical center, which looks like a paradise for illegal workers, is actually a hunting ground for organ trafficking. Seeking more answers, Wen Ning returns to the bar where he last met the curly-haired man. There, a friend of the victim hands Wen Ning a cell phone, something the man had intentionally left behind for him. But at that moment, Tian Cheng arrives with a court summons from the prosecutor's office. Wen Ning is officially being investigated for human trafficking. Realizing he can no longer continue his investigation without being caught, Wen Ning reaches out to Fong Thang to secure a fake boat ticket. He decides he must flee back to his homeland immediately. Of course, Wen Ning was the only one planning to flee the country. Before leaving, he bought a plane ticket for his mother to return to Vietnam, promising to reunite with her back in their homeland. On the night before his escape, Wen Ning contacted Wan Ping to say he was heading back to Vietnam, but he kept the secret of his dangerous underground boat trip to himself. The next day, Wan Ping went to the hospital to bid him a final farewell. She offered to drive him and his mother to the airport, but Wen Ning turned her down. After saying goodbye to Wan Ping, Wen Ning asked Tian Cheng to take his mother to the airport while he took the boat ticket from Fong Than and headed to the docks to escape. While on the move, Wen Ning suddenly received a message from the curly-haired man's comrades. The password to the mysterious phone had finally been cracked. However, before he could celebrate, he realized he was being tailed by plainclothes officers who were sticking to his car like glue. It turns out Zhanhua, fearing this underground doctor would vanish into thin air, had secretly ordered his team to monitor his every move. Once he stepped onto the boat at the harbor, Wen Ning finally had a chance to enter the code and unlock the secrets hidden within the curly-haired man's phone. As he sat in the dark, he found a series of messages being processed through a translation tool. Right then, he received a call from Wan Ping. Just as Wen Ning was about to confess his plan to cross the border back home, a dry, sharp gunshot rang out on the other end of the line, startling him. In a split-second decision to save his life, he jumped into the sea. At the same time at the airport, Zhanhua officially issued a travel ban for Wen Ning and his mother, suspecting his involvement in the human trafficking ring. His sudden disappearance left Wan Ping in total shock as she realized her colleague had chosen to become a fugitive. The terrible news was such a blow to Wen Ning's mother that she suffered a massive shock and had to be rushed back to a hospital bed. While Jing Yu stayed behind to care for her, Wan Ping tracked down Tian Cheng to demand answers. He swore up and down that Wen Ning was completely innocent and that he had only kept the secret to avoid dragging her into the mess. Meanwhile, the police were relentless, tracking his trail like a shadow that wouldn't fade. In another twist, Fong Than was being held captive in a locked room by Mr. Tu, who had seized all his communication devices. Palo bluntly interrogated Fong Than about why he was protecting Wen Ning, only to hear that they were old friends from their school days. Palo didn't hesitate to brag about how he had personally pushed Wen Ning into the sea, cutting off his path back to Vietnam forever. Infuriated, Fong Than warned both Mr. Tu and Palo not to cross the line. He also exposed Palo's side business of using the family's shipping containers for illegal transport, which had drawn the police's attention. Despite this, Palo remained defiant, claiming it was his own business. The argument only stopped when Mr. Tu ordered Palo to clean up the mess once and for all, demanding to see Wen Ning's body. While a naive Tian Cheng was asking Palo for help to find Fong Than for news, Palo fed him a string of sweet lies, promising to assist. In reality, after falling into the water, Wen Ning was miraculously rescued by a group of migrant workers. They helped bandage his wounds and returned his phone along with a puzzle piece, a keepsake gift that Wan Ping had given him on behalf of her son before they parted. To erase every trace of their crimes, Mr. Tu and his men scoured the docks in search of Wen Ning. The kind-hearted workers almost handed over his photo to Mr. Tu, mistakenly believing he was a good man. Luckily, Wen Ning recognized the danger just in time and hid. Finally, using a borrowed phone, he managed to contact Jing Yu to let her know he was still alive. Thanks to a quick connection, Tian Cheng arrives at the harbor just in time to pick up Wen Ning, helping him escape the clutches of Mr. To's henchmen by a hair. Reunited with Wen Ning and seeing him safe, Wan Ping is so moved she nearly bursts into tears. Looking at the wounds covering his body, she personally applies medicine and bandages him up. It's then that Wen Ning shares his theory. He is certain that the man behind the hunt for him is none other than Mr. Tu. Beyond the shocking secrets he accidentally stumbled upon, the curly-haired man's phone contains ironclad evidence of the old man's illegal trafficking ring. To save himself and bring the truth to light, Wen Ning decides to proactively team up with Zhenhua and Miss Chu. He hands over all the critical data. After verifying the evidence, Miss Chu immediately deploys her forces to pay a visit to Mr. Tu's hospital. While Zhenhua is assigned to protect Wen Ning as a key witness, Wan Ping brings him dinner. Suddenly, Wen Ning receives a call from Fong Than, the man who had helped him flee earlier. In reality, Fong Than had gotten into a violent conflict with Palo to protect Wen Ning. Tu, always favoring his own son, had ordered Palo to keep Fong Than under tight surveillance. This call was actually forced by Palo, but thanks to Wan Ping's quick thinking, the entire conversation was recorded. Fortunately, Fong Than remains brave and principled. He takes advantage of a moment when he pushes Palo out the door to reveal the coordinates of a secret harbor to Wen Ning. That afternoon, in a desperate attempt to destroy evidence and evade the investigation, Palo heads to the harbor, intending to move all the hidden migrant children, including Hong Van, whom he had just captured. Having received the tip from Wen Ning, Zhenhua leads a tactical raid on the scene, sparking a breathtaking, high-speed chase. In a state of pure panic, Palo opens fire, mortally wounding Hong Van. Before drawing her final breath, the poor girl manages to share her heart with Zhenhua, leaving him paralyzed with pain as his old memories come flooding back. Cornered and bleeding, Palo recklessly takes a young Vietnamese migrant girl hostage and forces Tian Cheng to drive the getaway car. He even has the audacity to call Wen Ning to gloat about the kidnapping. However, by the time Wen Ning and Wan Ping catch up, Palo has fallen into a coma from blood loss, and the little girl is safely rescued. Facing his enemy, Tian Cheng, consumed by guilt for his own naivete, tries to stop any medical intervention, wanting Palo to die. However, with the calm of a true medical professional, Wan Ping insists that a doctor's responsibility is to save lives, regardless of who the patient is. She tells him that judging Palo's crimes is a job for the scales of justice, not them. Everything finally comes to a close as Palo is led away in handcuffs. Although Mr. Tu managed to escape in time, his true face has been exposed by the media, and a nationwide manhunt has been launched. Wen Ning is officially exonerated, and his name is cleared. He quickly books a flight for his mother to return to Vietnam. Since he still needs to stay behind to assist the investigators, he asks Wan Ping to escort his mother back to their homeland first. Meanwhile, watching Tu Yet Bin's mother accept returning home for the sake of her daughter's future, Wan Ping feels the depth of a mother's love more than ever, and cherishes Yao Hao all the more. As for Zhenhua, the pain of losing Hong Van leads him to a final decision. He begins his journey back to Indonesia to bring her ashes home to her motherland. With her mother's comforting presence by her side, just a few days later, Wan Ping boards a flight to escort Wen Ning's mother back to Ho Chi Minh City. During this time, Wen Ning stays behind at Wan Ping's house, stepping into her shoes to watch over and care for her elderly father. One evening, the two connect over a video call to look through each other's childhood photos. As they share those faded pictures and the memories attached to them, the distance between their two souls begins to vanish. In Wen Ning's eyes, Wan Ping is no longer just an exemplary mother, but a deeply responsible physician with an incredibly warm heart. After the call ends, Wen Ning takes the final puzzle piece that Xiao Hao had given him and fits it into the last remaining gap, finally completing the picture. Seeing the vibrant, life-filled artwork before him, he feels his heart overflow with a new sense of hope. Meanwhile, in Vietnam, Wan Ping sends a postcard to Miss Chu with a heartfelt message. The regrets of the past are the nourishment that grows the seeds of hope. These sincere words help lift the heavy burden from the prosecutor's spirit, bringing her a much-needed sense of peace and serenity. It wasn't long before Wan Ping flew back to Taiwan to continue working side by side with Wen Ning, performing silent, underground surgeries for undocumented workers. As time passes, Wen Ning gradually adapts to the rhythm of life in Taiwan. He even begins to develop a deep affection for the very land that once filled him with so much resentment. In the end, instead of choosing to leave, he decides to stay to continue reaching out to help the vulnerable and those whose lives are filled with obstacles, hidden away in the shadows of society. Living deep within the heart of the community, Wen Ning comes to a profound realization that for every ordinary person, the grueling struggle just to survive is completely justified and never wrong. Yet, he remains steadfast in his own ideal, that no matter how cruel or heartless this world may become, as long as we are living, we must uphold what is right and protect the kindness within our hearts. Thanks for watching.